Anarchy.
All right. Welcome to episode number 26 of Anarchy in Space.
Started as Elvis and ended with something else. Not sure.
This is episode number 25, episode 2 of season 3 of The Expanse. IFF.
Yes, IFF.
What does that stand for?
Something friend or foe?
International Fornication Foundation.
Oh, if only.
So,
The fornication of the month is Congolese. What?
well, we have, from what I recall, man, an action-packed episode we watched this week.
Yeah, had some nice little tense moments.
There's a lot of tension in this episode.
Yep, Christian trying to come up with some jokes.
We were talking before the episode, and God, lots of F-bombs drop. And what's hilarious is to me, in my day job, Christian just reminds me of every Indian woman I've ever met. Just swearing up a storm, very aggressive. Like, the way I describe people, and maybe it's just the industry that I'm in, they all tend to be this way, but I feel like they come over here and think that it's literally still the Wild West. I've definitely been threatened with like guns.
You might be right about that.
More from their particular group of people than others. Yeah, all the Arab people do is yell about black people.
Interesting.
Incredibly racist.
Reminds me of that scene in the movie Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks from the 80s. And the little nerdy guy has to go and find some prostitutes. And the Indian guy turns around and the little nerdy guy goes, "Are you a pimp?" And he goes, "Yes, I am a pimp.
That's hilarious.
And if you don't bring my bitches back in 45 minutes, I'm going to dip your balls in motor oil." It's like, okay.
Is that a bad thing?
Cook your balls in motor oil, I guess.
Oh, okay. That would be different. Very, very different thing. Well, you know what? I'm going to say, Eric, let's make season 3 a little different. You're going to be the guy.
Okay.
I feel shitty because the first 2 seasons, like, I just talk so goddamn much. So I want you to do some talking this season. So why don't you lead us through this?
Okay. So the episode begins with a riot happening outside of the UN, or should I say mostly peaceful protest.
About the same thing, right?
Yeah. So we meet a new character coming in, Dr. Anna Ushka, I guess as a Russian lady. And she's trying to convince the people of Earth that God is on their side, and gets brought into the UN Secretary General or President or whatever he is. And Errinwright feels a little bit left out because he's told to leave the room while he talks to this person. And there was a nice little opening scene there where at one point she gets hit by one of the MPs from the UN.
Well, what I found funny about this is, so she is a very particular person and represents something within this context. I mean, she is your quintessential bleeding heart as a character goes. Like, she's, what is it, a lesbian,
Yes.
interracially married priest in the Baptist church or whatever it is, or Methodist church. And
Yeah.
apparently knows the leader of the UN from back in her, back in their, specifically their more aggressive activism days. So she kind of represents, like, it's the far, far left, as far left as you can possibly go. Like, because everything is for the people. Hence why she gets in the middle of it, is willing to fuck with the soldiers because she knows she's got the protection of the leader of the UN. They can't touch her.
Right.
And even though, but while they're manhandling the one guy, she's like, no. Yeah, this is how this is going to go.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, so she's there to make, thus far, we've looked at the leader of the UN as kind of being like almost a very lefty kind of guy himself. He really doesn't want war, it seems.
Right.
But when you paint her into this picture, all of a sudden everything swings way far left, and he looks not far away from Errinwright as far as things actually go. And I think that it's interesting that her character kind of changes the way things seem just that much.
Yeah.
You find out that, like, she wrote the speech basically that got him his office, and that's why he's called her in now, because he basically has said, I need you to make it okay to start war with the people. Get them on my side.
Right.
Which is, you're telling this to a priest.
Yeah, the Secretary General guy was, he was like, yeah, nobody talks to me that way anymore, at least not to my face.
Yes.
And so that's the reason why you're here.
That you're the only person I know who's not going to bullshit me, and I know I can get the real stuff from. And she was, and clearly is a very gifted orator. She knows a lot of history, knows a lot of what's going on.
Right.
The other thing that I find interesting about her character is, and this is why all left-leaning societies fail on the margins is because you can have all of your high-minded aspirations you want, that you need to respect the fact that human nature is human nature. And so despite the fact that what she's going to do is going to make it okay for war, she does it for the very simple fact that, well, money. You'll make sure my foundation or my church never has to go without, so we can do good with all that.
Yeah.
Are all those Martian lives okay for the fact that you just got a few extra shillings to sling at your people? Like,
yeah, that's true today as it ever was. The road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And it's exactly that.
But yeah, just kind of seeing her and Errinwright kind of playing with each other a little bit. She kind of irritates him in some way because she wants to call for some kind of restraint. And Errinwright's not all about that. But then that led to a Jules Pierre Mao visiting Dr. Strickland on Io, who's very creepy in this episode, by the way.
Oh, Strickland?
Yeah, he's definitely giving off Dr. Mengele vibes. So
isn't he the guy from Joe Dirt who played Buffalo Bob?
He might be. I haven't seen that movie in a long time. So
I only remember it because it's just such a very defining face.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty positive it's the same guy.
Could be.
But yeah, I mean, no, he's been creepy in every episode. I don't know if it's just now catching up to you because they're really focusing on him.
Oh, yeah. It's like, it's like, oh, and we'll make sure that you take your medicine. And we're like, not good.
Well, and we find out a lot of big things about the protomolecule in this episode. Because we find out that the reason that Prax's daughter is so important is because they have a rare genetic issue that only happens on the planet they were on.
Yeah.
And it has allowed them to create, basically, they're able to maintain for longer periods of time the protomolecule within themselves.
Yeah.
So like the super soldier thing that they're working on, it makes them able to be controlled where the other ones couldn't be.
Right.
And she sees like her one friend who's showing her like he can turn his arm blue and stuff as the protomolecules in him.
Yeah. So it was kind of eye-opening, I think, even for Mao, because he was wanting to come in there and scrub the hybrid program altogether.
Yeah, it's like, fuck it, we're done with it. There's no point.
Yeah, it's like, you can't control this thing. It's, it turned an entire asteroid into a flying missile, deconstructed a ship in a moment,
Yeah, like the thing is that I don't know that even, I think, I'm pretty sure Strickland's lying to him in the first place. I don't think they can control it at all, but he's doing what any other fucking doctor will do to save their program.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, no, we're right there. We're right on the cusp.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, I'm positive this is going to be the week that we do it.
Results are right around the corner.
Anyways, where we go next, most of the show takes place on the Razorback, right?
Yeah, Avasarala and Bobby Draper trying to flee a UNN ship. And the Razorback can go very, very fast. Bobby Draper is used to high G operations, but Avasarala, being a politician from Earth, not so much. So Bobby Draper's got to kind of thread the needle on keeping the ship away from the UNN ship outside of range.
Without killing Avasarala.
Yeah, without killing Avasarala. And so there was a nice little exchange between her and Avasarala where Avasarala said, speak politician, basically dumb it down for me.
Yeah, it was really funny.
Which I thought was kind of funny.
Now, obviously, they're being chased by men that Errinwright has sent after them. It's quite certain he's going to get away with it.
Yep.
Well, Bobby knows that she can't get away. It's just not possible.
Yeah, the ship doesn't have any kind of defenses. There's no guns or...
Yeah, it's just all she's got is she can outrun him. Maybe. Yeah,
I can outmaneuver and go fast. That's it.
And the problem is she can't really use, like, she's in a position where she could get away from him in a second, but it would definitely kill Avasarala. So her next option is, look, they're going to kill us one way or the other. The other option is we are on a Martian ship and we can put out a beacon to Mars.
Yeah.
And Avasarala's like, well, yeah, we're both war criminals to Mars, like, as far as they're concerned. Well, I'd rather be a Martian war criminal than, a body buried beneath, Errinwright's, mound, which is, that's death. That's certain death.
Right.
Mars, I'd rather be in a Martian prison than buried, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So they send out a beacon and, it's weird that there's this other ship that just happens to be able to get Martian distress signals in the area.
Yeah, the recently renamed Rocinante gets the IFF call, which is the title of the episode. So identification of friend or foe. And they pick it up and Draper kind of disguises who's on board the ship as just that they're being pursued by UNN and that they're a Martian ship. And of course, Naomi says, well, this is the Razorback owned by Julie Mao. We've got to go find this. And Holden's like, yeah, I don't want to do that.
Well, To be specific, Holden is saying, I promised Prax we're going to find his daughter. We can't get sidetracked from that mission. And that's all this is.
Right.
And ultimately, what do? Is they throw it to Prax and says, all right, well, you make the call.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I'm not part of the crew. And he's like, no, you're part of the crew.
Right. You're family now. So what are we doing?
And so he ends up deciding, hey, we're going to go save this ship, which leads up to a really great moment with Amos. There's actually a couple of really good Amos moments in this.
Yeah, Amos and Prax have been working hand in hand on putting natural air scrubber plants up in the walls. And then at one point, Amos tells him, well, we're about to do a high G burn, so we need to secure all the tools and everything. And I guess Prax doesn't do it properly. So at one point, while they're doing fire maneuver, like all these tools, drills, and saws and everything are flying around the Rossi kind of all over the place.
Well, and what's even more funny than that, I mean, you've got that great moment where Amos catches the drill 1/4 inch from Prax's face because, of course, we need Amos being a badass any chance we got.
Yes.
But leading up to that is where Prax ends up pulling out his air hose, and he can't breathe, and he's dying. And so Amos, in the middle of all this maneuvering, unstraps himself to go put Prax's hose back in.
Yeah.
And while the ship's doing all this maneuvering, so he's being thrown all over the ship. And he's surviving only by like holding on to the railings himself. And like as the ship changes direction and does 360-degree turns, basically turning around him the whole time.
Yeah. He's
just being a total badass, like getting from one end of the ship to the other, hanging on by a single hand, and eventually gets over there and saves Prax. It's just like, it's a super cool shot scene too.
Yeah.
Because you're just watching all of these like tools and bits and drills and everything flying all around, and Amos is just one hand at a time moving his way over to Prax. Eventually everything stops though.
Yeah, and last scene of the episode was Bobby Draper holding Avasarala in her arms, getting led on board, and she has no idea what's just about taking place on the Rossi, and it just kind of ends with it's like, help her please. And I guess at one point Holden recognizes who it is. Screen goes to black. I'm like, oh, that's gonna get interesting.
So you've got that.
Yeah.
The one thing I also did want to mention though is so what is going on with those bursts that they were using? Because they did something almost seemed like it stopped time or something. Or like, did it blind the other crew? What were those like torpedo shots that they used?
I think those were the nukes. And if a nuke goes off, it does cause an EMP, which is what shut down the electronics of the Razorback. At least that's what I thought it was.
Okay, so they set off EMP devices as a method to stop the torpedoes that were about to crash.
Yeah, to interrupt their signal and everything. Yeah.
Okay, I was curious what was going on there because everything dead stopped. And I'm like...
Yeah, it was like, all right, well, here comes another one, and then the missiles are going to go through.
It was a very interesting situation. It also looked really cool. I mean, it's hard to argue. Some of the stuff they put in here just looks really cool.
Right.
So the other thing that we missed is that there is a moment in there where Amos is talking to Prax, and they're getting into very specifically... Amos calls bullshit at him. He's like, look.
Oh, yeah. Dealing with his, with the way Prax is handling his daughter.
You're trying to avoid something here. That's all this is. Like, you want to, I don't know what you're trying to run from, but you're running from something with all this. But yeah, it basically, you can tell that Prax is stalling. He's kind of already written off his daughter for dead. And I think at this point, he just doesn't want confirmation on that. He just.
Yeah, trying to focus his mind somewhere else so he doesn't have to think of it.
Yeah. So there's kind of like a moment where like the rare moment of humanity from Amos, or isn't humanity so much as like I'm calling bullshit because you can't bullshit the bullshitter. I know callousness, and that was callousness, bruh.
Pretty much. Yeah, he was like, right.
Yeah.
Takes one to know one there, Chief.
I'm really excited to see what's going to happen when Avasarala wakes up and sees James Holden.
Yeah, I was like almost cringing myself. I was like, ooh, Holden knows who that is. She's going to know who Holden is. It's going to be, that's not going to be a fun wake up.
So I guess for the technicals on this one, this is episode 2 of season 3, IFF. This is directed by Breck Eisner, written by Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank. So what's special about those guys? That's actually the guy who wrote the books. So this is very specifically written by the authors who created the show.
Yeah.
It was originally released on April 18th, 2018. So man, we're almost up to modern times here, huh?
Just about. I'm getting pretty close. a 0.5 on the ratings.
Yeah, man, it dropped pretty steep. Like it's almost like no one watches this station anyway. It's pretty,
Yeah,
pretty weird. So what? So 0.5? That's basically 500,000 people. Is that like what that means?
Yeah, 500,000. It's expressed in millions for the ratings.
So like I don't know, a sixth of Joe Rogan's normal episode viewing.
Pretty much.
Fewer people watch this than watch Joe. I guess fewer of anybody watches anything than Joe Rogan's podcast. It's the most watched thing in America, at least.
Yeah, Rogan's he's actually got higher numbers than some cable news shows.
I think all cable news shows. I don't think any
which
of them
is hysterical.
He's one of only two people that I've seen laugh at being detracted by the New York Times. He's kind of like, what do I care what the New York Times says about me? More people watch my show than read the New York Times.
Yeah.
And the only other person who I've seen who's gone through that is PewDiePie. How many millions of people is his subscribership up to? Like, I think it wasn't like 6 or 7 million people at one point.
Yeah, at the peak, I think it was about 7.5.
It's so many fucking people.
Yeah.
But dude, it was a good show. It was definitely a turn from the first episode. Yeah,
there was a little more tension in this one. It had a nice little space battle scene. Didn't really get too much into the proto-molecule hybrid thing. At least, you just see it on a computer monitor spinning around. But overall, it was a pretty decent episode.
I will say I like that it kind of brings a little bit more of the politics back in with the whole Dr. Anna, doctor, priest, lesbian.
Yes.
We don't need to talk about like how much stuffing in there they did to make her like check every box with her very black like African wife. Like
right.
Yeah. But they got all the ethnic multiracial kids and stuff running around. Although it was pretty racist that they made the black woman the mammy. They did the mammy thing with her.
Yeah, I guess if you can read into it.
Yeah, I mean, you can try as hard as you want to be woke, but you're never woke enough. Which I will say,
right.
This show definitely went out of its way to be woke as far as like the casting choices go, but it never bothers me because it's actually written. It's written well enough that doesn't.
Yeah, it's kind of written. Yeah, it's kind of that way just from the story itself.
I just got turned off of another TV show. The Boys season 2 really pissed me off with how they're treating Stormfront, making her Nazi. I know it was obvious with the name, but like there's so much more you can do with the character. It wasn't even really the Nazi thing that pissed me off. It's the way that they're treating her with Homelander that really pissed me off.
Yeah.
And then so after that, I was so pissed I tried to watch another show, and so I started that Utopia.
Oh, is that the one with so that's your guy,
John Cusack?
Yeah, John Cusack.
Well, I stopped at episode 2. I was irritated enough and being preached at that I decided not to watch any more of the show.
Yeah.
It's weird because they actually put up a disclaimer on the show that this show is not meant to.
Oh, no.
Not meant to. It's about diseases and pandemics being released by the government into the world. Now,
can I just get a show with no disclaimers? Is that possible?
I mean, I don't want to be tinfoil hatty, but I mean, so this means this show was created or was made last year.
Right.
And just happens to release during their pandemic. It's really, really tough sometimes to just think shit is coincidence. Like,
yeah,
you just happen to have all this shit ready to go right when we're in the moment.
Did you need script approval from the Department of Defense on this one? Or?
Well, the only thing I can say is that it was actually a British show that's now been adapted to American rights. Honestly, it's more the treatment of the characters that I don't like. The lead character is fucking terrible.
Okay.
And from what I could read, I think it was originally a black comedy over in England, but it's now a drama here.
Well, that's not good.
And they do that. In America, they refuse to do dark comedy sci-fi. If you remember Torchwood? And when they brought Torchwood over here, it sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, they were trying to make it like an action adventure show.
They made it a drama. Like we were gonna fight for the end of the world.
Yeah.
And then they pull out all the jokes and all the shit that made Torchwood great, which was Jack Harkness being fucking hilarious.
Right. And anytime that they tried doing something, that was on Stars, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like all over the top. And it's like, oh, well, okay.
I mean, I watched it. The story was cool, but it took away all the stuff that made Torchwood great.
Yeah.
It was a Whovian sci-fi show when it started out. Like the first 2 seasons of Torchwood are so good. because it's just goofy.
Yeah.
It's a goofy version of the X-Files, basically. It's like, yeah, we've done like we've done like poignant sci-fi to fucking death over here. Can we have a little levity in the programming?
Yeah, just write in some good jokes.
Yeah, and the show, like, can we get some lowered stakes? Maybe not everything is a quest to save the end of the world or whatever.
Right.
Or go the other way and just make it so that every episode is a quest to save the end of the world, so it's completely demeaned to the point that it doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, kind of like calling everybody a Nazi and a racist. Then,
yeah, and eventually those terms don't mean anything, and I hear them, oh, so you just don't like him, I gotcha. I now have no way to know if someone is actually a Nazi or racist because just apparently everyone is.
Right. Are we talking about, riding pants and goose stepping and
who made that? Whose joke is that? Someone actually brings that up somewhere. So anyways, for sci-fi people, don't bother watching Utopia. It's fucking terrible.
It's god awful.
And like it started out pretty good. It's preachy from the first moment though. Like oh my god, everything is about the climate and environmentalism, and they smash all of it they can in there. John Cusack basically plays Bill Gates, and there's a moment where they're all at the table and tell me this is what really triggered me on about it is that it's 100% Machiavellian.
Oh,
and what's that dude's name? It's George Bernard Shaw.
Yeah,
where he's literally at the dinner table and everyone holds hands and he asks everyone of them what they did to justify their existence today. Like,
oh, nice. That's not psychological abuse at all.
I was just shocked because it's not something that you see.
Yeah,
I mean, I know the history of Shaw.
Very pleasant one either.
No, it's not. And the amount of influence that guy's had in history is pretty not great, we'll just say.
Yeah.
It was just weird seeing it so deliberately placed in something that they're trying, promoting. So
weird.
I guess if somebody wants to finish the series and tell me this, and it has a good cast. It's got Cusack. It's got fucking Rainn Wilson playing like a crazy fucking scientist dude.
Rainn Wilson. Yeah. Which you would think he would excel at.
Well, no, I like his character. Like he totally play. Basically, within 2 episodes, they introduce him. He plays a scientist that discovered a virus, and
it came from a wet market, and it came from bats and pangolins, and no.
It definitely came from bats. I believe in Africa though. Was the story in this one?
Just different.
Well,
continent.
technically, in Event 201, there was a pig in South America. Technically, this is actually even closer.
Right.
But it was so all of a sudden John Cusack's created like a meat alternative and it started serving a place. And one of the schools he starts serving it at, a bunch of kids have come down with this virus. And it looks to be the virus that this guy discovered. Now, this guy he was important for the 5 minutes when he discovered it, but like when they decided it was nothing was ever going to come of that virus, it wasn't going to become one that became a world killer.
Right.
His school no longer gave 2 shits about him, so he can't get any. Like he's like handing in requisition after requisition to get fucking the university, and they just ignore him.
Yeah.
And like he runs across like his department head, and he's like, "Look, you're never going to get anything because the dean doesn't even know you exist. Be happy for that." Like that's. So there's a whole lot. It's just it checks so many boxes. The thing that really kills me is that the lead character just sucks. Like she's just a fucking cunt.
Never a good thing.
No, she's unlikable in a way that detracts from the character. I can't stick it out enough to fucking see what she's gonna do. So I just started what's it, that loop show about Under the Loop or
the Loop show.
It's a sci-fi show based off of this art that this dude did. I think it's like Swedish or something, but Beyond the Loop maybe.
Oh, wow.
It's another Amazon show. And that one's actually pretty good. It's more visually arresting, and it's spending too much time to build mood to get into politics.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and God, just a show that doesn't dive so deep into politics in the shittiest of ways imaginable. So, something to behold. So,
yeah.
Well, anyways, folks, we have belabored it. I gave you a couple new fun things to check out and not check out. Anything else we need to bring up while we're here, Eric?
Nope. Just keep watching the show and come back afterwards and let us talk into your ear about it.
Liz seems to like it.
Liz seems to like it.
Yeah, she seems to enjoy talking about the show every week.
Yeah, not giving up the Star Trek anytime soon, I'm sure.
As long as she wears the Uhura outfit every now and again, we're good. So, anyways, folks, take it easy. Go and save the world.
Yep. Out.